Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to talk about XDefiant, a Ubisoft original. XDefiant is a new arena first-person shooter. It is being developed by Ubisoft San Francisco and spearheaded by Mark Rubin, who is the executive producer back when Infinity Ward was making Call of Duty 4, Modern Warfare 2, and Call of Duty Ghosts. Mark and his team have been very transparent with their community, which is somewhat of an anomaly these days with AAA studios. They're really taking what the community is saying and trying to create something great with XDefiant, and so far, people have been enjoying it a great deal. With that in mind, I wanted to give my 2 cents on something. People have been throwing out this whole, is XDefiant the COD killer, or is this the next COD sort of discussion, but I don't agree with this sentiment. XDefiant is not in direct competition with Call of Duty. Like any other first-person shooter, there are always going to be elements that are taken, reworked, or inspired from Call of Duty and other FPS titles. The fact that Mark Rubin is behind the wheel doesn't equate to it being the next COD or the COD killer. XDefiant is carving out its own path, and I find that to be wonderful. Not every FPS needs to compete with Call of Duty or be dubbed the next potential COD killer. It is short-sighted to imply this, as there are many differences between the two games. With that out of the way, I want to talk about what is good in XDefiant and what is bad. I was going to put in the ugly, but since we've only had access to the beta and it's actively being worked on, I don't believe it would be fair to comment on things that will most likely be fixed or overhauled. However, there is enough information to give an in-depth stance on the current state of the game regarding mechanics, maps, and feel. So for those who want the quick summary, TLDW, gaming is at a solid 7 out of 10, but has massive potential as long as a few things are properly adjusted and or reworked. Gameplay is solid, gunplay feels nice overall, maps are great, and the game modes are nicely implemented. I'm definitely looking forward to the improvements, and I'm excited for the next iterations of the game. Now, if you want my more in-depth analysis, keep watching the video. Let's start with the basics. The overall menu design is good. The only real issue I see is that the settings option is separated from the bulk of the menu. Settings should be included with the rest of the menu on the left. It is instinctual, for me at least, to look at the big menu options and think the settings are there. So whenever I want to change something, I just naturally move my mouse over there, but then I remember it's on the opposite corner of the screen and have to go back up. Not game breaking, but a little annoying. Navigating the menus otherwise is fine. The current challenge setup is good, but I do believe some adjustments need to be made in a few areas. One is to give the people the option to simply level up and unlock weapons instead of completing challenges for them. Right now, you can only unlock other weapons through using a weapon of the same type and completing a challenge associated with that weapon type. Example, to unlock the ACR, you need to use an assault rifle to get long shots. That is the only way to unlock it. This can be difficult because there are a lot of instances on maps that don't have many opportunities for long-range engagements, thus making this challenge harder to complete. If there was a leveling system to unlock, you could just play the game and unlock it by reaching level 25 or something. This would be a huge quality of life change, considering there are a good number of challenges when trying to unlock everything. The other factor that needs to change is a detailed explanation of each challenge type. Some are straightforward, like deal X amount of damage, but things like long shots and point blank kills have no explanation to them. It's easy to think and assume what one might consider a long shot or point blank, but as I said, these are just assumptions and change by person. With this stuff spelled out, it puts everyone on the same page instead of just guessing. Is long range 40 meters, 50 meters, or 60 meters? Is point blank 1 meter, 2 meters? This both helps with clarification and also provides the relative difficulty for the challenge. Now, the challenges to unlock new agents is fine, but I believe having the agents all unlocked and having the challenges be a color palette change for the outfits would be more rewarding. Having to play with a specific agent while you're trying to unlock your favorite looking one isn't game breaking, but it feels very tedious with minimal reward. At least with the color palette change, you have something a little more to show for, or so that's how it would feel. The weapon customization follows the traditional 5 attachment limit with static pros and cons. Nothing too unique here, and the formula works. However, the stat bar on the right is not helpful enough in my opinion. It's just a bar that fluctuates based on the attachments you add. However, we have no range to work with, meaning if this was numerical in some sense, we could say for accuracy, as an example, 0% would be completely inaccurate where 100% would be a laser beam. I believe this would be a great quality of life change. The details screen does offer, as the name states, more details for the weapon customization. You can even filter per attachment, no attachments, and all attachments, which is great to have. I don't really have any issues with the details, but a couple things I would change are the recoil, showing the actual recoil pattern for the weapon similar to Rainbow Six Siege, and the same issue with the bars needing numeric values on either end, as well as what percentage the stat is currently at. The weapon skins are simple and straightforward navigation wise, and the master skins are really nice. I love how the bulk of the weapon has either the bronze, silver, or gold to it while leaving certain elements black. I prefer this type of look over the plasticky everything is gold look like in Call of Duty. This just looks better to me. As you can see, you can move the weapon around in a full 360 and rotate it a bit to see how the light hits at different angles. Overall, very simple but very nice. You get a standard 10 loadouts that are fully customizable and renamable. Nothing crazy, no need to change what worked. Although I would like to see the option to attach specific factions to certain loadouts. Might be unnecessary, it just seems like it would be nice to try. The season pass, or in this case the beta rewards, are viewable and clickable so you can see exactly what it is you're getting, but you can also rotate the weapon skins to get a better look at it, just like in the weapon customization screen. It's a small thing, but a good thing. I like being able to see if what I'm unlocking is as good as I think it would be. Now, there is a profile portion which is currently very limited, but there are a few things you can do. As you can see, we have emoji packs to use, which are little emojis you can use upon death to express whatever you want. A thumbs up, a really sort of look, an angry one, and so on. It looks like they're going to have multiple packs, which is nice, and I actually really like this. With the player card, it's basically a graphic for MVP and death screens like you'll see here, that others will see at the end of the game and when you kill them. It does add a nice layer of expression, and I do hope that they expand on this idea of expressing oneself through death screen emo from the characters you're using, potentially even voice lines like in Apex Legends, and so on. Now, the issue here is that there's nowhere to customize your characters, or even in the faction screen. I unlocked the skin for the Rosa, this character here, and I couldn't find how to use the skin for a while. Turns out you can only equip it to the battle pass screen. It's a bit annoying, not obvious, and it should be something that is able to be set from the faction screen or even the loadout screen. More about the UI. The medals that pop up in the game are too big and have too much text, and I believe they would be better if they were condensed to just a symbol that pops up on a different side of the screen. Along with other elements, these could all benefit from being placed differently and condensed in different ways. You'll see here how the pop-ups and notifications currently work. However, if we look at my poorly done photo editing, you'll see something that I find cleaner, more readable, and allows you to still keep track of what's going on in front of you without all this stuff obstructing your view. The maps are all well done in a general sense. I haven't encountered a map that is problematic in the sense that you are forced to play a specific way or doesn't allow you to adjust your strategies. Each map has a variety of ways to play, and if you prefer one playstyle over another, virtually every map can accommodate it to some extent. Speaking of maps, when you pull up the map, it is a skeleton, essentially. I don't know if this is what they're going to be like moving forward, but since this has not been mentioned before, I'm bringing it up in hopes that there is a change. There needs to be more depth to the map because it's just not great to look at right now. If I was to present this to you and ask you where are the high points and lower levels located, you would most likely have a hard time figuring this out without prior knowledge. Hopefully, this gets a big adjustment. Onto grenades. They need a rework, almost entirely. What I'm about to go over may fall under the bugs category, but I feel like the damage radius, trajectory, visual explosion, bounce and roll capability, and their sounds all need adjustments. The damage radius seems too low and makes the grenades nothing to really worry about unless you're right next to one or are damaged already. Here's the most scientific test done for this. In the practice zone, I'm at the 5-meter target and I look to the bottom of it and I step back to a point and found something that is at the same distance to give me an approximate 5 meters. And here's what I found. 5 to 6 meters, nothing. 4 to 5 meters, kind of inconsistent. Sometimes it damages, sometimes it doesn't. 3 to 4 meters, death is possible at 3 meters. Anything above 3 meters and you will most likely die if you've been shot. 2 meters and below, death. Personally, I think you should be damaged at the 5-6 meter range for about 20 HP, 4 to 5 meters should be 40 to 50 HP, and the damage from 4 meters and below is fine in their current state. My point with this is that grenades need to feel more impactful than what they currently are. Visually, they just look like a burst of air, hardly anything to take seriously. Physics, you've seen how they bounce. They bounce once and land with a thud in most cases. There's not even any rolling. I would love to see the physics updated. The sounds of the grenades don't sound scary either, and half the time I don't even realize my grenade goes off unless I'm actively listening for it or I have visual of its landing location. So yeah, rework needed big time in my opinion. Sounds also need a rework in a lot of instances. The biggest problem with sound comes with footsteps, the grenades which we just went over, and weapons. The footsteps need to be increased in most cases, or more discernible at the least. When it's very quiet, you can hear footsteps from enemies more often than not, but there are still times when they could be running full sprint and you still won't hear them.
Zone C. What is changing location?
And the weapons, they don't sound so great. They are too weak sounding, almost like paintball markers, and need a lot more punchiness to them. Just listen to these.
It's a shot. That new loadout smell.
This is even worse when listening to other players fire their weapons. It doesn't sound good at all. A few weapons sound okay in the first person, namely the SMGs, shotguns, and pistols. Overall though, the sounds in the game need a big change. The match intro is fine, you see everyone's loadouts and factions and make adjustments if need be. The post-match screen is standard, nothing crazy. However, there is no way to just leave the match. You're stuck here for the whole process to complete, which is about 20 seconds before getting sent back to the lobby. A vote to go right back into another match would be nice, and for those that want to just leave, they should just be able to leave. The charging of the ultimates doesn't go up by itself. The only exception to this is escort, where if the package is moving forward, the attackers get 1% every few seconds, and if it's retreating, the defenders get a percent every few seconds. Otherwise, you need to get kills, assists, or hold the objective for increases, the rate of which are as follows. In the objective while capturing or holding, like in Occupy, you get 1% every 5 seconds, or basically whenever this thing ticks one more. You get 6 per kill and assist. You don't get anything extra for damaging equipment or getting the extra offense or defensive tag with a kill. It's still the flat 6. You get 3% for dying. Overall, this seems pretty well balanced and truly focuses on objective play, which is great. I found that getting an ultimate wasn't too difficult as long as you did decent with objectives, even if you didn't get a lot of kills. Speaking of abilities, I'm not going to get too much into it because that's a video by itself, but I did want to speak on the healers. From the pre-alphas, this has not changed, and I'm not sure their ult is intended to be this way, but if it is, this is game breaking and will cause a lot of problems. Currently, the healers, the Libertad, can buff their health to 220 through stacking their ult and abilities, and their regen is actually insane. Check this out in practice mode. And to showcase this happening in a real match, look at this. They are busted, like beyond busted, and need to be either massively nerfed or damn near completely reworked. Keep in mind, this isn't individual healing. This extra 220 health and whatnot is for anyone who's around the current healer. So yeah, completely broken. The gunplay feels nice overall. I don't have any complaints about it. ADSing, movement, all that feels good. I do want to touch on the movement really quick though, because I do believe that right now the current movement is a little bit too forgiving. People are talking about there's a skill gap in regards to movement, which I find to be a little bit of a problem. I think movement skill should be a cherry on top, but not the whole dessert. And what I mean by that is that movement should be able to help you in certain scenarios, but shouldn't be the thing that takes precedence over gunplay. You need to be able to have solid game sense and shoot accurately in order to be able to do anything, whereas movement just sort of helps you here and there. But right now, movement is either on par or a little bit ahead of gunplay. And it could be because of the current desync and netcode issues, but if it's not solely because of that, then yeah, movement needs to be toned down just a little bit. Nothing crazy, because I do still want movement to be an important factor, just not the main factor in regards to a game that is supposed to be focused around gunplay. Take a look at this slide here. That's pretty crazy distance. Just all these other little examples, like you see all this jumping and all that. The movement right now is just too much. In conclusion, I'm actually very excited to see what the Ubisoft San Francisco team comes up with and how they improve on an already very promising game. They have something really great in the works, and with the constant communication with the community, industry veterans behind the wheel, and a vision that is clear, I am certain that XDefiant can become something great and a breath of fresh air. Overall, 7 out of 10 right now, but I know it could be much greater. And if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like and subscribe, maybe, and let me know what you think. Have you played XDefiant? Do you agree or disagree with any of my points? What would you like to see the XDefiant team come up with or adjust? If you have any feedback for me in regards to the video, let me know. I'm all ears. That said, peace out.